It's a special edition of the Shaun Starr Show on Ivan Demidov, Ammonia, Pandemonia, Extravaganza. Welcome. As you can see on the bottom of your screen there, if you're listening, we are a three-pronged attack today on this Monday game day with the Montreal Canadiens. So welcome in Connor Bedard, Artem Levshenov, and the mighty Chicago Blackhawks, and the highly anticipated debut of one Ivan Demidov. Good morning, Marco. Welcome to game day. How you feeling? What's the vibe check? Let's get a vibe check back.
Oh man, it's definitely a vibe right now. We've just had our morning rush lines released, and it appears like Ivan Demidov is going to be starting on a line with Joel Armia and Alex Newhook.
Whoa!
In this game.
Okay, so we got that to react to, but first, let's welcome a newbie from TVA Sports, Nicolas Cloutier. Comment ça va, mon gars? Bienvenue à l'antenne, le Shaun Starr Show. On est fort à matin?
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me, guys. Super happy to be here.
Now, we're going to get into this, and of course, you can follow Nicolas Cloutier at ncloutier, TVA, on Twitter. Nick, are you a Twitter or an X guy? How do you go about that?
I'm more of a Twitter guy. I say Twitter.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. I'm still attached to the good old days of Twitter, you know?
I love this, and the reason, obviously, we're doing this is Ivan Demidov's NHL debut. But this is kind of his debut to the Montreal market, and Nicolas Cloutier with TVA Sports was there.
Oui, c'est lui qui s'en vient. Il est là avec Demidov.
Il est là.
You're the man.
Demidov.
We love you, Demidov.
Now, Nicolas Cloutier, you were there. How did that come about? How did you get the assignment? And what went through your head when your boss said, Mr. Cloutier, we need you to get to Pearson 5 minutes ago?
So, guys, this is actually a great story that I haven't even had a chance to tell my parents or my close relatives. So, I believe it was Wednesday night, like the day before. Horrible night of sleep, one of the most horrible night of sleep I've ever gotten in my life, probably. And because, the reporting about Ivan Demidov in the last few days was so hard to do because the thing is, the situation changed just so quickly. So I had gotten a lot of heat on social media because pretty much everybody was convinced that he was going to end up with SK or end his contract with SK all the way through May 31st. Of course, that did not happen. So I had gotten a lot of heat. So, when you experience that as a journalist and you get it so wrong, well, obviously it takes a toll on you, and you ask yourself a lot of questions. So didn't get much sleep that night. Had a hit on TV at like 7, so no sleep at all basically. And I wake up to do the hit at 5. So I go to the station. Do the hit at 5. Do the hit at 7. I keep working. I call my buddy Marco D'Amico just to dot some I's, cross some T's. Make sure like a couple of my sources that I was working with were actually legit, because you start asking yourself these questions in that moment. Mm-hmm. And while I'm actually talking to Marco, my boss starts gesturing me. I'm like, hey, Jesus, can it wait? Like I'm talking right now, and I'm trying to confirm that this guy is actually hopping on a flight today. So, but he keeps gesturing me. So I'm like, at one point, I say to Marco, hey, Marco, I really need to end this call because my boss needs to talk to me. So I hang up, and my boss is like, hey, man, you're going to Toronto. You want to go? And at this point, I'm just like flabbergasted. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I have to hop on a flight. Flight is that it's at 4 p.m. and then I land at around 18:40, and I have to do JC at 18:55.
Okay.
So adrenaline pumping. You don't even have a chance to think.
Yeah.
Just crazy. And then you come up here at the Pearson, you walk through Pearson, and you start seeing those fans from Mississauga, Sudbury, all those regions in Ontario. Mm-hmm. And at first, I mean, there wasn't like a peep like in the airport. I was like, okay, this is gonna be a doozy, but they start coming in. They get louder and louder, and you're
How
like,
many people were there by the time you got there?
by the time I got there,
Yeah.
well, when I first got there, there was like only one guy standing here with Montreal Canadiens jersey, and with his girlfriend, and there was there were the guys from the Sick podcast that I briefly
Yes.
talked to, but like nobody. And you know what? I came with Benoit Rioux from the Journal de Montréal, and I didn't see any other media on the flight. So we were basically the only media, of course, that was here. And the TSN camera guy just came in later, like maybe perhaps 30 minutes later. But yeah, as the fans kept pouring in, and I have to do these live TV segments during that, and they start pouring in, and they cheer and they get loud, and I'm like, okay, this is good TV. This is nice, and you can feel the hype. And then the guy from the Sick podcast,
Yeah.
he grabs my shoulder and he's like, "Hey Nick, look at this. We're live right now." And I look at the number going up, and there's like 100,000 of people watching this live, and I'm like, this is madness right now. The guy is basically just filming the international arrivals and just people coming through the international arrivals. And I'm like, they're actually watching this? Like, there's not much to watch, okay? If we're being honest. So that's when I started to realize, okay, there's some hype that we haven't seen before, and we've seen some hype before with prospects such as Caulfield, but it was during the pandemic, and the hype wasn't quite at the same level as we saw at Pearson. So I had to do like 4 or 5 lives on TV because all these programs at TVA, well, they want me on the show. And then I get a call. Ivan landed, and he had landed for about 30 minutes. So we're anxiously awaiting his arrival. So at this point, my camera guy, he has to really just take his camera and point it right at the doors because you cannot miss the shot. If you miss the shot, well, why do you send me here? I had one job to do. And so this guy calls me and he's like, "Yeah, you're opening up the 20 heures. You have to be on the 20 heures." And I'm like, "Okay, I can do a live for you guys, but I won't even be shown on TV. My camera guy has to point his camera at the international arrivals." And he's like, "No, yeah, no worry. Like, we'll do like 2 minutes. Maybe he's just gonna point at you like really quick and then come back to the international arrivals." I'm like, "I'm not sure, guys. I mean, we better not miss the guy." So as we do this hit on the 20 heures, well, I'm speaking, and as I'm speaking, I see this huge hockey SKA St. Petersburg bag, and I'm like, and he's here with his girlfriend. So the doors of the international arrivals were closed, but as soon as we see him, for some reason they closed. They closed. They closed, and we're like, okay, So they're trying to sneak him in. And I'm still on live TV, and I'm trying to locate Ivan Demidov, and I'm like, what the hell is happening? And what am I gonna do? Am I really gonna come empty-handed to Pearson? What am I gonna tell my boss? Because in my mind, he was just gonna go just near us, sign a couple autographs, answer a couple of questions. That's done. Merci, bonsoir. But yeah, we're figuring out that he's going straight to the exit because I'm seeing some fans run after him. Yeah. So and my camera guy is still right in front of the international arrivals. So at this point, I have to make a close call, and I'm like, I hate, like, by the way, guys, I hate running after a player. I don't want to run after a player, and I was not running after a player just to shove a mic in his face or get in his drill or whatever. But at this point, you have to make a close call. You need the feed. Like if he signs an autograph and there's a cute moment with a fan, you need to have a camera guy there. So I go to my camera guy and I'm like, no, yeah, we got to run and we make it fast. So
Marco, it wasn't Nicolas Cloutier saying, "Ivan, I love you, Ivan." We can
no.
Mr. Cloutier, Nicolas Cloutier, joining us from TVA Sports. He was there, and a story that Marco D'Amico broke with RG Media from the jump, that he was coming to Montreal, that the layover was in Istanbul, landing in Pearson on the day that Marco told you it was going to happen. He also told you Ivan Demidov was going to make his debut Monday against Chicago, and here we are. Marco, what do you make of Nicolas Cloutier's adventure through the whole hysteria of the Demidov arrival at Mississauga?
Well, I think it's kind of indicative, they know what gets ratings. They know the passion of the fans. And I think it was a smart decision to have somebody on the ground. And,
Yeah.
Nick has been on the Demidov tab just as much as I have all season. So it was just, a great story and great to see him kind of get that opportunity to go there. But, for me, in terms of, questions for that regard, it was 30, 40 fans. How excited did they get just as they were waiting for Demidov?
Yeah.
Pretty excited. I mean, they all had their jerseys ready to get autographed, and they were running fast. Not as fast as me, though, I tell you, because I zoomed past them. I just flew by because I had to get the shot. But they were excited, and I was still on live TV when we showed him getting inside the car. This huge this huge black car that was conveniently parked at the exit, already parked. John Segwick entered it, his girlfriend too. And there was this young girl crying because she couldn't get an autograph of Ivan Demidov. And I tried to cheer her up on the national TV, still trying to catch my breath because I just ran on national TV. So much was happening in my mind at the time.
It turns out that Nick was the actual star athlete of this program.
Listen, with the wheels, apparently he's got wheels. The man can move, Nicolas Cloutier. Yeah. And listen, full props to the Sick podcast and Yellow and Sammy who were there by coincidence, but nevertheless, luck landed on their lap. And they got over 300,000 people watching at one point on their live stream last week. So full credit to a good Montreal business doing some good heavy lifting. But let me ask you, this is now just a matter of opinion. Nicolas, why don't you go first? And then Marco, why don't you answer off Nicolas' answer? Let's talk about the criticism of going there, because I want to know, like, Nicolas, were there other Quebecers there, or were they just Torontonians?
No, just
there were more Quebecers there
from Ontario. No people from Montreal.
Okay,
other than Anello.
Yeah, other than the media outlet, TVA was there, Journal de Montréal was there, and Sick Media was there. So there's been some criticism, coming from other provinces about laughing at Montreal fans, laughing at Montreal media, laughing at fans that are watching a live stream on the internet, all the while conveniently forgetting the Shohei Ohtani experiment when it turned out it was some guy from Dragon's Den that landed at the airport, not Shohei Ohtani. You see this in Europe on the regular, Nicolas. So why don't you jump in first? How do you digest the criticism that was leveled for the live stream Montreal media covering Demidov's arrival at Pearson last week? What do you make of that?
I mean, I think the fans' passion and the numbers you saw on that live stream, if it tells you one thing, is that it was a good decision by us to go there, because it's reflective of the passion of this fan base. And I mean, the dynamics are all the same. Even if you're talking about journalism, it's offer and demand. And the fans wanted to see Demidov. The demand was there, so we just catered to the demand, and we offered something. We offered a product that our readers and our auditors really wanted to see. So the bottom line is this: people were actually watching a live broadcast at the Pearson, and people the ratings also at TVA were good. So if it tells us one thing is, I mean, the people can complain, but they were watching. So what can I say?
Why don't you pick up off that on your opinion, Marco, and your point of view on the criticism that was leveled there in the aftermath of Demidov's arrival at Pearson?
Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit of protectionism in North American sports, specifically to hockey. I don't understand it. You look at European sports, the soccer specifically, that would have been the reception that a Serie C, so third division in Italy, player would have gotten after a transfer. You know what I'm saying? It's like 30 people and 4 cameramen. We're not talking about anything ridiculous. And a live stream, I mean, listen, I told Nick he was going to have to hold on to his pants, and Demidov wasn't going to come out, prior to like at least an hour going through customs from what his representation was telling us. And, some of the feedback I also heard was, what is this kind of impression that you're putting on, that you're showing Ivan Demidov? just did an 11-hour flight, and he must be exhausted. Ivan Demidov's camp gave us that information specifically because that kid wanted the smoke. That kid wanted to be around the fans. In fact, if he had it his way, he would have probably landed in Montreal.
Oh, yeah.
But the Canadiens probably made the call, and the smart call, in my honest opinion.
That was a good call, by the way.
Yeah, to go through Toronto, to let him chill, to let him sit, to get some ice, to lay low, and then when the Canadiens get to Toronto, meet them. And I think that was a smart call.
So was that deliberate?
Think about, of course it was deliberate. It was absolutely deliberate. Absolutely deliberate. Again, he was initially supposed to land on the Friday night when the Canadiens were playing against the Senators, and then the Canadiens would have met with him on the Saturday. He actually came a day early because his papers got filled out rather quickly. Whether that's some agreement that Jeff Molson and Mark Carney got together on, or whether Canadian bureaucracy actually worked out for once. But one way or the other, he got his papers early, and it was all deliberate. I think it was all done tastefully. The only thing I'm going to say is, we bring up the Shohei Ohtani thing on a more tangible level. When TFC signed Insigne, Pearson was a zoo.
Yeah.
When the Montreal at the time Montreal Impact, Montreal FC signed Didier Drogba, YUL was a zoo. So I don't think running after a player. The only reason that it happened is because that wasn't their home airport. They didn't have control over the corridor of where that player was going to walk. They didn't have a dedicated section for the fans. If it were organized better, it would look like less frantic, in my honest opinion. But the Canadiens did the smart thing, because I don't think you had enough room in the entire airport of YUL for the amount of fans that would have wanted to be there to welcome Ivan Demidov. So in my opinion, it was the best of both worlds.
And the thing is, Ivan Demidov wanted to talk to the fans, wanted to sign some autographs. He would have answered some of our questions. I am positive that he would have. It was not his call. The Canadiens are trying to protect him. Like right away, when Kent Hughes was on TSN saying they don't want to put too much pressure on the guy and they have to manage expectations, I knew right away what the plan was with Ivan Demidov, and it was to protect the kid at all costs. So when I went to Pearson, of course I wanted a couple of answers from Ivan Demidov, but I knew very well that it might not happen. And so it's not Ivan Demidov's call to go straight to the van and not approach the fans. He was actually very happy to see the fans. Like the smile a smile was etched on his face, and you couldn't dislodge it. So it was pretty evident. He was very happy to see the fans. But Ivan Demidov, you tell him to learn French, he'll learn French. You tell him to play defense, he'll play defense. You tell him to fight, he'll fight. So you tell him not to talk to the fans, he'll just listen to whatever the organization tells him.
Listen, the internet and technology has come such a far way. Nicolas Cloutier with TVA Sports wrote a great piece on that. You can go to his Twitter bio and read his latest, where he just quoted his own story there. I read that earlier this morning, and that's, in all honesty, that's exactly the type of narrative you want around what is supposed to be, and the expectation is, a franchise type player. Like we've talked about it a lot on TSN 690, the heart of the rebuild. Like, when is the rebuild over? When the heart of the rebuild is here. Jacob Fowler's pro debut, 2-1 win Saturday over Syracuse. You're watching Juraj Slafkovsky mature and evolve as a player. Ivan Demidov has now landed, and Marco D'Amico talking to us earlier in this episode here about the line rushes. So let's end this conversation this way. Marco, why don't you lead us off here? What do you think is a reasonable kind of expectation? I'm going to make the leap. I'm going to be so daring. The Canadiens are going to get into the playoffs, okay? What's a reasonable kind of expectation, a tempered expectation for Ivan Demidov against Chicago, against Carolina, and then at least 4 games in round 1 of the postseason? Go ahead, Marco.
Well, I think being on a line with Joel Armia and Alex Newhook will allow him to get a little set up. I like the combo of an Ivan Demidov, Alex Newhook kind of setup, just because Newhook has the speed and the ability to get up the ice and enter the zone. And so that will take care of the time and space for a guy like Demidov, and then, get him the puck and make him do his magic. What I'd like to see, and this is something that Martin St. Louis has done from time to time, is I'd very much like to see the pairing of Lane Hudson and Caden Gooley, seeing as they have the last change at home, match up with that third line so that they're on the ice together. And then you really insulate them, but also give them the best opportunity to not only get pucks based on both defensemen's good rush defense, but their ability to move the puck up the ice real quick. So best kind of scenario. I think a lot of people may be shocked that Patrick Laine is not on that line, but in the end of the day, as much as Patrick Laine is really strong on the power play, I think it kind of makes sense. You want to balance out your lines. And for the first time in a long time, the Canadiens actually have 4 lines that could score goals right now. So we'll see what happens.
Another follow-up before Nick jumps in. Does Demidov finish on a line with Newhook and Armia tonight?
Oh, I think with the last change, there's going to be some shifting around.
For sure.
It also depends. Like if the Canadiens can get off to a good lead and have more than a 2-goal lead before the end of the game, I don't see why they wouldn't start playing him, with Suzuki. But just for a run. But he's slated to play on the second power play wave as well, so he's going to get his looks, in my opinion.
What about you, Nicolas Cloutier? Reasonable expectations for the 2 games, and then at least 4 in the first round.
He's for sure. I mean, you're going to notice him on the ice. That's my expectation. I cannot tell you how much points he's going to produce, how much goal he's going to score. But when he's going to be on the ice at 5-on-5, you'll notice him. It's impossible not to notice him. And one thing, Shaun, I really wonder about is what happens to the power play units. Because we know Martin St. Louis. He's not gonna throw Demidov on the first power play unit right away. That's not his style, and that's not what he did with Lane Austin because he had to earn it. But someone eventually is gonna have to give up his spot for Ivan Demidov, and who is it gonna be? That's the biggest question for me.
So let me say something to that.
Yeah,
I have the great fortune of speaking with the great Marc Denis twice a week on TSN 690, right? And I asked him that question last Thursday. Who's in jeopardy, right? And you know what his answer, and this is why he's a pro athlete, and I am not a pro athlete, as I mute Marco again because the typing is nonstop. What Marc Denis had said was, this team wants 2 PP number 1s. They don't look at it through, hey, we got a PP number 1 and then power play unit number 2. They want 2 level, high octane, high performance power play units. They look at it, Nick, through the window of, they have, like we talk about here with the Team Canada in hockey, we can have 2 teams and win gold and silver. I think that's what they want to do with the power play. They want to have 2 number 1 power play units out there, and maybe Demidov can get them there.
Maybe that's cute, okay, and I like it. But the second unit hasn't been producing a lot of goals. I mean, it was mostly the first unit since the beginning of the year. So I'm eager to see it. But I don't know. Like it sounds great in theory. Like don't get me wrong, but I'm eager to see it in practice.
I'm very eager to see if they continue double shifting Nick Suzuki on that second wave. Because if they double shift Nick Suzuki and then you have Demidov, you could start playing that triangle if Mike Matheson decides to be generous. So we'll see. But I think it opens up a lot more possibilities if they have a guy like Suzuki kind of looking for Demidov. And then again, of course, like you have other guys in the lineup, like Newhook's going to be the guy doing the zone entries on that wave. Kapanen's probably still going to be there for the low shot. And then, Brendan Gallagher is Brendan Gallagher. So I think for the first time in a while, they may actually have, I wouldn't say potent, but I would say on average, both combined, I think you could literally say that the second power play wave, if Nick Suzuki is being double shifted, is not a throwaway power play wave. I think they can actually do something now.
So here's a fun question. Now I'm really going to end it off this one. You remember Ryan Paling's debut?
Don't get me started.
Do you remember Austin Matthews' NHL debut?
Yes, we do.
4 goals for Austin Matthews. The hat trick and the shootout winner for Ryan Paling in his NHL debut. Nicolas Cloutier, which one would be cooler for Ivan Demidov? 4 goals or 3 goals in the shootout winner for Ivan Demidov?
Oh, please, neither of them.
No, the answer is Austin Matthews, bro. 4 goals in his debut. Let's go.
I think from a poetic perspective, if he gets the shootout winner, that would be that Ivan Demidov gives the Canadiens a shot to the playoffs, right?
Remember Crosby on Jose Theodore in the shootout there? I
also remember Pierre McGuire giggling for like 3 minutes.
Bottle popping.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I don't want to put too much expectation on it. Again, you're going to be getting used to a team, and Chicago's been playing well of late as well. So it's just a question of just, playing your game and just being yourself on that ice. As long as Martin St. Louis is fair by the player, I think he'll show exactly what he needs to show.
That's lots of fun. Nicolas Cloutier from TVA Sports. Ton anglais, mon gars, c'est pas mal fort. Et fort, gêne-toi pas. On va faire ça encore, non?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you guys want to do it, I'm down.
Isn't it?
I
It's
still
such
have
a Quebec conversation.
Accent, though.
I love it.
Yeah.
T'sais, on est des Québécois. I speak to you in French. You answer me in English. We can go back and forth. This is why it's the best province in the country. And
this is why I love Quebec.
Amen, brother. Nicolas Cloutier, you can follow him online. You can follow him on all his outstanding work at TVA Sports. Merci beaucoup, Nick. Marco D'Amico, thanks as always. We'll see you again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
Thank you, guys.